Today I am working on a 2011 Chevy Tahoe two-wheel drive customer complaint wheel bearing. I already replaced the front wheel bearings. Those were distraught. This car's been sitting for a really long time, so I don't know if you can hear the sound. I'm gonna try to pick this on speed. So you kind of get like a little humming sound and stuff. So you get humming and growling, and the front was a lot more worse. You could definitely hear it. So now we got the rear. So I got to check the bearing for the differential. We're gonna go ahead and lift it up and see where I can pinpoint that bearing noise. Let's see if we can hear it. Yeah, so it's a pretty loud growling sound. If you put some music, you won't be able to hear it. But, we're going to go ahead and fix that. So, we're going to go ahead and do that. Take that back to the shop. Got to do a few things with this car. Yeah, if you want to check out the front wheel bearings on how to do that, go ahead and look at my list. We'll have that video. I have a bunch of Chevy Tahoes. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Comment down below if you have any questions in regards. Since we're going to be dealing with the rear differential, you need to be very cautious with this. And then since we're doing the rear differential, we're going to be pulling out the wheels, see if we can spin the bearings on the outside. It's kind of a little bit hard to pinpoint which side it is because it echoes out through the whole differential when you're trying to see which side wheel bearing is bad. It might be coming from the center itself, but yeah, I think I'm gonna try to see if we can point all that out. See if I can spin it up in the air. Just where I'm at right now, I have a few cars in the garage, so I can't really do anything. Flat surfaces I don't have at the moment. But yeah, comment down below if you have any questions on that, and then we'll go ahead and start this video right after the intro. Alright, so I got the car all lifted up. I lifted up from the center of the differential. Make sure you put some blocks in front of the wheel so it doesn't slide right out the way. I'm kind of doing a slight little decline, so again, make sure you have blocks on both sides of the wheel. So I'm only having it on one side because I'm on my incline. So anyways, I went ahead and supported the differential. Now if you're gonna lift it up from the differential and then you're gonna put your jack stands on the frame itself, remember that the differential is going to go back down because you're lifting it up from the differential. So you need to lift it up from the subframe to see what height you want it at, because the moment you start letting down on the differential, the suspension is going to go down. So as you're lifting it up, it's going to be more height. So right here, I'm just supporting on those this sway bar itself right there. Try to get it as close as under that, the flat spot right there. I took off the spare tire just so it's easier to record. Then I'm gonna have to take off that beam right there. Spare tire, obviously pretty common sense. For some of you that don't know, basically you just use your regular key, pop it out from the bottom, I believe. Yeah, so you would this is how this will sit, and then you'll push up the tab right there. You can use your key to squeeze in between here on the bottom and then pull it right out. Use your key to take off that lock right there, and then your tools right here. This guy will go in first. You need two pieces, and then for this side, your pull for the lug nut. We'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so now we're just both on the same page. I have the spare tire to the side. You can take it off, it will make it a lot more easier. I already took off the driver's side, Just gonna kind of give you a rundown of the passenger side. So for right here, we don't need to take off the pads or anything unless you're gonna be replacing this. Now would be a great time. I think you would take off these 13 millimeters for the pads, but we're not gonna go ahead and do that. So we're gonna take off these two 18 millimeters. So there's one right here. It's on the caliper bracket. So one, and then two right there. So there's the second one. So we'll go ahead and take off both of those. Alright, so now that we got it, the bolts off, we'll go ahead and just pull this right back just like that. And then we'll just set that right in here. We'll just have it chilling right there. If this guy falls down, don't worry about it. It's actually very light. Make sure your emergency brake is off so you can actually spin this. I'm gonna go ahead and tap on this with the hammer so we can break this free from right here. Now if the rotor's on there really tight, you need to probably hit it from the sides. So you'll probably hit it from right here and you'll end up kind of damaging it just a tad bit. Not too much. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and spin this. So right here, this bearing is pretty jacked up. I can hear it. The other side is not as bad, but I'm still gonna replace it. But the other side's actually leaking. I suspect that it kind of ran out of fluid. We're gonna go ahead and check that out. We'll go ahead and tear that apart. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. Make sure you have clearance because we are gonna take off the differential. So I would say about, I think that should be more than enough right there for that distance. I would recommend leaving about 5 feet clearance on both sides, just in case you're going to check out both. So I can move these cars so they're not in the way. Right here, you can see how it's all wet. So yeah, it's all wet. Again, I already took this off. Yeah, so this wheel bearing is pretty jacked up. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to replace the bearing in the front where the differential. That sounds pretty jacked up too. We gotta take off the wheel speed sensors. I already took off the passenger side. Now we're gonna take off the driver's side. For the passenger side was actually pretty. It was on there. The bolt was easy to take off, but the sensor on there was stuck. So let's see if we can pop this sucker out. You're gonna need a T30. Make sure it's fully seated in. Put it in and then put it out. Just kind of wiggle it around. Make sure there's no debris in there. And then hold firmly. There you have it. We'll take off that bolt. Then we'll wiggle this around. And then get a flathead screwdriver. So right here you don't want to pry against because you'll break it. So what you want to do is get on the closest part towards the sensor. And then just wiggle back and forth. So left and right. And wiggle. Wiggle back and forth, left to right. And there you have it. The other side was actually way more harder, but I was able to save the sensor without damaging it. After you're done, you're going to go ahead and clean this with the rag. So we'll just leave that right there for the time being. We're gonna go ahead and I mean, I don't think you have to take this off because it gives you a pretty good distance, I think. So it's supposed to sit up just like right up there, so I think that should be enough clearance for you. I'm just taking it off just for the demonstration purpose. If it makes it easier, there's you can take off one 21 millimeter. There's one right here, and there's one more right there. I think this one you got to hold the nut on. The other one has a locking nut, so you go ahead and take that off. And then for right here, basically what you do is you'll push in by hand, and then as soon as the clip starts popping out just a tad bit, you'll go ahead and get your flathead, kind of pry in between. So you're not prying away, you're kind of prying down at an angle, so you'll kind of spin it. So just like that. Once you get it down below, wiggle it right out, just like that. It's actually a lot more easier with two hands than one. And then we'll just set that aside right there. We'll clip that back in, and then, so I don't lose it. I think we can, yeah, I'll probably support it with some straps. Or I'll just take it off. But yeah, you can either support it with some straps or something. But yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the differential cover. For this little sway bar, I just unbolted the other side, and I didn't want to take off the sway bar end link, so I just left it on and just dropped that guy down. You can do the same too. So we're gonna go ahead and take off all these 13 millimeter bolts. And then for right up here, we'll go ahead and take off this one. And then we'll go ahead and take it off from the bracket. So we'll take off this top one, and then as soon as we take off this top one, then we'll just go ahead and start taking off everything. Make sure you have a catch pan, so you can catch all the fluid, obviously. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get a pry bar or flathead, and then right here on these little tabs, we'll just pry on that. So right now I'm kind of looking for a little bit metal shavings. I don't see any. Usually like to look at the cover itself, but right here you can see a little sparkles at the bottom. That's normal, and then you can see right there that the magnet plug has some. That's normal too. What you're trying to look for is metal chunks. I don't see none of that. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be a bearing for the outer, so we'll go ahead and wait until the fluid comes out. This is a posi diff, so it's not like the regular differential. So yours might have this, so some other people, there's going to be different. I need to do a little bit more research and see what I got to do prior to taking this off. Alright, so now what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to find this locking pin that holds the differential in place. So right there you can see that bolt. So we'll just over just a tad bit. So right there we're going to go ahead and loosen up that bolt. I believe that's a 10. I'll find out right now. And that'll keep this pin right here locked up in place. I'll get all the torque specs for this. This is my first time doing the one with the LST. I've done the other ones without this little mechanism right here. But yeah, let me just bear with me on this, and you know, we'll go ahead and tack it as we go along. So that's an 8 millimeter. So I'll go ahead and see if I can pop this guy out. Now what I'm doing is that I was spinning the wheel as I was trying to get the bolt to where I want it, and then I locked it in place with my hand, or you can have someone else hold it in place. By the way, I have the car in neutral just so this can help the process, speed up everything. Once we take off this bolt, that pin should drop, and when that pin should drop, then everything will be all said and done. You can see right there. Make sure you inspect it for any metal debris. That's what we're looking for, is metal chunks. I don't see any shavings in here. Also spin the gear, make sure you don't see any metal chunks. This is going to be your most expensive piece. The rest is all cheap on all that. I'm going to go ahead and get a rag so I can lay out everything so it's all clean. Put back on this pin. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and clean up the area. A little brake cleaner. And I'm going to start doing my marks. I'm going to be using a Bix whiteout pen. So we're going to put bolts for B. Obviously it can only go in one way. We'll put B right there. So we'll have those two. And then obviously we'll make a little mark for alignment for the bolt to pass right by. I think it only goes in one way, but rather be safe than sorry. Now when you're taking out this pin, I believe you have to take it out from this way. Yeah, you can't do up and down. So we'll go ahead and pop this guy right off. I'm going to be cleaning things as I go. So yeah, you can see the pin. We'll just pop out that pin just like that. I'm going on the bottom side of the pin, just to pop out that. Then once you get it partial out, I can't get my finger in there anymore, so let's pull it out with a rag. We'll just wiggle this right out. Make sure you don't squeeze too hard. We don't want to damage that area. We want to get that. Some things might fall. So at this point, should be able to take everything apart. Now you're gonna see your little wear areas. The shiny spots aren't your airs, your worn areas. So you see right here how it's all dull. So right there too. Make sure that they're not chunked out or anything. This will cause your clunking. So you can actually hear clunking in the rear. That's happened to me once. I experienced that. So as you spin this, there's a little gear up right there on top, as you can see. So usually you're supposed to take all of this apart, but I've never done it with this guy right there. So the way how I have this guy set up right now, I got the pin out. I was having a little hard time with the pin coming out. So you're gonna have this right here for the one with the locking differential. If you don't have the locking differential, just basically just take out the whole pin, and then when you spin the wheels, so if you're spinning the wheels right over there, the spider gears are gonna fall out. That's no problem, don't worry about that. You can put those back in. For this one, it's actually a lot more pain in the butt. So once you take off that, make sure you're not spinning it, because then it'll be a lot more harder to put in, because you don't want these to fall off, because obviously it's more like a little puzzle. So we're gonna go ahead and pop out that. So I tapped on the base. So right here, I tapped on right here until it bottomed out as much as possible. And so the one with the locking differential, you're gonna go ahead and spin this, and then you'll notice at one point it's gonna kind of get loose and it's gonna want to pull back, and at that point, that's how you know you want to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and show that process. Right here, we're just gonna basically spin this little. I'm gonna start off with the passenger. I think that's the easiest side to start off with. So we're gonna keep spinning this until we'll just kind of flick it right up. It's almost there, coming out. Okay, so now just a little bit more. There you have it. So that's how you kind of want to pull it out, just like that. So once you get that out, we can go ahead and pull out the wheel. So now we're gonna go ahead and pull out the axle. Now, if it's pretty stuck on there, what you can do is get a slide hammer, bolt it right here. It'll be like a 3-piece, so you probably put one right here, one right there, or you can probably do on 2 opposite and then use the slide hammer to do it. I just don't have one at the moment with me, so we're just gonna go ahead and tap this. So now we're gonna go ahead and pop off this seal. So you have some fluid that might leak out, and if it does, then go ahead and have something to catch it. Next, we're going to go ahead and take out the bearing. I already did it on the driver's side, so I'm just only going to show you on one side. So one tool you're going to need is the rear axle bearing remover set. You can get this at AutoZone. Part number is 27129. So we're going to need the smallest one. It's going to be the 1 1/4 inch. So this is the one that I got, so it's going to be like right there in the box. So it's going to be this bottom one. So it's going to be the smallest one. Remember that, the smallest one that you need. All right, so along with that, you're going to need to get the slide hammer. So slide hammer is going to be part number 27033. So you need that. So we're going to go ahead and put this. This is much thread that you're going to need for that, and then we can just slide that right in.
I'll show you closer. So what we're gonna go ahead and do, make sure this is all cleaned up because we don't want debris in there. So we're gonna slide it in just like that. And then while it's in there, as it's going in, we wanna pull this guy right out. So we'll wiggle it, and then just like that, we want it flat. And then we're gonna go ahead and spin this guy until it gets compressed. Okay, so right there, you wanna make sure it's kind of centered a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and slide on our slide hammer. We're just gonna thread this guy on. Okay, so once you got it thread on, like a good amount of threads, we're gonna go ahead and hold one end of the slide hammer. Make sure you be careful with your hands that you don't pitch it. So this one's kind of missing the handle right here. So I'm gonna hold it right here, and then while I slide the hammer, just like that. So that's what I'm gonna do. And just like that, we have it out. So right here, this is gonna sound like that. This is actually where your the axle shaft is actually gonna go on, and then this will be your wheel speed sensor is gonna be writing off this. So this is perfectly fine. This will be loose. It's actually gonna center itself once it gets on the axle shaft. So here's the bearing itself. Make sure you measure it. Make sure you bring this with you. So you can measure the new one. You don't want to be driving back and forth. I think I'm gonna have to replace the pinion gear, so we're gonna go ahead and do that too as well. All right, so next I'm gonna be taking off these bearings. So make sure you mark these. So we're gonna mark these with white out. So we'll put, you know, these guys, the top piece right there. We'll probably do that one as right, and I'll leave the left one as that. So we'll go ahead and take these 4 bolts off. This is actually pretty heavy. So it's going to be 16 millimeters. So there's 4 in total. Make sure you're holding this. Since I'm kind of tilted up, nothing has fallen out. There should be some shims, if I remember correctly. We'll see if we can. I guess it comes off as one whole assembly. It should come out separate. There we go. Okay, we'll put this. I'm gonna set this aside. And now we're ready to pull out this bad boy.
So when taking out this, the whole differential gear, you need to keep an eye on how the shims are. I didn't take note of that because when I was trying to pull out the differential gear, it basically got it's a little stuck. So you need to really keep an eye on how they come in, make marks of that, because it really took me a few hours of searching and stuff just to figure out. So right there, at that moment, it fell down and my hand was in the way. I didn't see that. At least I talked to a buddy of mine at the dealership, and he was able to help me out just to guide me on that, on which way they go. But I knew 2 shims were on the left side and there was one on the right side. But later on in the video, I will show you how that goes. So hopefully this little detail helped you out.
So this side will have the plates right there. It'll just be in just like that. Go ahead and figure. These are the shims for that. So just like this. This is how it should sit. Sorry, sorry, man. I was just having a problem talking. This is how this should sit. Right in there, just like that. Other vice versa, I think so. I think it should sit like that. I didn't see how it came out, but pretty sure it should sit like that. We'll find out right now. Yeah, what the other one had a thicker race. Yeah, that's how I think it should sit. So we'll go ahead and set those to the side. We'll check out our areas, make sure nothing was damaged. Just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and see if that bearing's bad. I need to check the other bearings and make sure that they're all good. I'm actually kind of like replacing them all, but I'm pretty sure this one's the one that's messed up. But I'm doing a complete bearing replacement. All right, so I'm looking at the bearing. This guy's pretty jacked up, so I don't know if you could see it. See these little indentations right here? Yep, that's all jacked up. But believe it or not, I think oh no, the race is all jacked up too. I didn't see that. Hey, you can see all that scores right there. You see all those little indentations? That's all messed up. I think I want to take off. I think I'm gonna take off the pinion too. I'd rather just knock that out. We'll just leave that for the customer. This one's actually pretty good. I'm still gonna replace it. I mean, I'm not gonna let it. I have it out, so why not? But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get to removing the other piece. And yeah, so we'll, once it comes down to installing the bearings and all that, then we'll go ahead and get to that. So next, we're gonna go ahead and take off the drive shaft. So we're gonna be using a 7/16 or an 11mm. I already took off these 2 bolts, but I'm gonna show you how to take off the other one. I have the car in neutral, so go ahead and take off this. And then we'll go ahead and use a pry bar. This guy should pop right out. Just like that. Then we got to take off this bolt right here. Then we're going to go ahead and measure it, mark it. So we're all said and done. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take off the bolt for the differential carrier. So we're going to go ahead and count how many threads there are. So I'm going to count them from the bottom. So we're going to do by complete thread. So 1, 2, and 3. So we'll go ahead and mark this with the nut and right here. I'm going to use a whiteout pin. So we'll do it right there. And then we'll do one more. This is just for my tightening purpose. Had a little cockeyed. But yeah, so we got 3 threads. And you can see right there. Got that. I have one marked with this. And then the other one down right over there. I'll figure out the torque specs for that later, but just in case, I'm going to be using a 32 millimeter right there. As you can see, shouldn't be on there too tight. Alright, so I had to go back to AutoZone and then get a timing gear puller. Part number is 27009. And then I had to get 5/16 by 24. That's the thread. So 5/16 is the size, and then the thread pitch is 24. So make sure you get 5/16 24. I got about 2 inches. That's what you need. That's more than enough. So bolt, you can see right there, you need about almost double the length. Not that much, but just almost. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this guy right in there. Get a washer too, 5/16 washer. And for these bolts, I didn't look at the hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot. I went to AutoZone. I actually got these from a door hinge, but these are actually pretty expensive. I think they're around like $12 or $22 for like 2 bolts. But just gonna buy them and just return them back. 22 bucks for a pair of bolts. It's awfully a lot. So I think they came from a Ford. And then this size is gonna be a 19 millimeter. So basically, you kind of want this bottom piece to be sitting right there flush. There's an indentation on that. And so we're going to go ahead and extract it. Alright, and you're going to need a 19 millimeter for this guy. We're going to go ahead and impact it in. So you're going to tighten the bolt. And just like that. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and pop off the seal. We're just going to hit it like the other ones. Alright, we got to hit this out. I went to go get a bearing race driver. I just need something in here. So we're going to hold this. And we have to keep banging it out. So I'm using a 4-pound hammer. So I got it almost out. We're just gonna go ahead and tap it just a tad bit more. You gotta be careful that you don't drop the carrier. So make sure you have something on the other end. We want to go ahead and inspect this guy. This one is pretty worn. It's not that crazy as the other one, but you can see the little indentation right there. There's like little marks. I don't know if you can see it, but there's little marks right there. So then we'll just pull out this guy just like this. There's a little crush washer. This one you have to replace. You're gonna have to get a new crush washer. Go ahead and inspect everything, make sure that this is not damaged. So right there you can see it's all jacked up right there. So this will make that noise. So this one's bad too. So we had two different growling noises. So we got to go ahead and replace this guy and the other one. We're gonna have to go get the crush washer from the dealership. And yeah. Out of all pieces, I don't know, this white stuff really stinks. It's pretty foul. I mean, it's like pretty hard to like stand of the smell. I hate gear oil, but that smell I can't even stand. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get the parts. I'll let you know on the parts list what's going on, and yeah, keep you posted. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and take off this bearing because this one's pretty jacked up. Now let's see. We're gonna need a bearing separator. So you're gonna get this one. Part number is gonna be 8065. You can get this at the auto parts store. And then along with that, you're gonna need to get a push puller. Now this is for the bearing, just specifically for this. The part number is gonna be 8099. So you're gonna go ahead and pull those out. You're gonna need these. Pretty much everything. We're gonna go ahead and back these guys right off. We'll set those aside, put those back in this case. Alright. Then for this guy, you're gonna open it up. You're gonna get it aligned as much as possible. Set that right in there. Now you're not gonna force it or anything. You just need to get these guys snugged right in. All right, so once you get that all snugged right in, then we're gonna go ahead and tighten one side. Then we'll put in this guy right here. That will slide in for the most part. And the other one, same thing. Go ahead and get that going. Then you'll snug those down. So we basically snug this guy right down right there, and you need to make sure that this hole lines up with that. And then we'll go ahead and get this bad boy right here. Then once it bottoms out, so there's a few things I had to do. So I had to kind of like restart the process just because of this started catching on the bearing outer race, and it wasn't catching the bottom lip. Now, if I have to, worst case scenario, I would probably have to cut this and pull it out. Usually I cut the bearings just like that, but I'm trying not to cut it in that sense of matter. So with the nut that it came with, the one that we took off from right here, I'm using a 15/16, or you can use a 24 millimeter. So we're gonna do this. You need an impact gun for this. If not, you're gonna have to cut this the race off. Make sure you don't penetrate into that. If you nick it just a little bit, that's no biggie. Just make sure you smooth it out with some sandpaper and all that. But we're gonna put this right here, hit it with the impact gun, and see how it goes from there, because when trying to hit it with the wrench and do it by hand, it's a little bit hard. So this, you put the back, you need 1/2 inch. So you'd put that right there. I got 2 15/16, and then the other one I'll put right here. So kind of try to improvise the situation, make what I can with, and then we'll hit it with the impact gun and then go from there. Put something right here in front of me, just in case anything bounces right off so I don't get damaged. So there you have it. I would recommend taking little small breaks with the impact gun. I can feel I haven't never got my gun that hot before. So just like that. Should be a shim right here. This shim, make sure you keep it. We'll clean it. We'll make sure it goes in one way. This shim is important, all right? You need this shim there. And there you have it. We got this sucker out. So yeah, we'll set that aside. We'll get the new one. We're gonna clean up this area. I'm gonna clean up all of this with a wire brush. Make sure you are careful with the smooth part. So right here, you're careful, and then right here, that you're careful too as well. So we'll go ahead and get this cleaned up right now, then I'll get right back to the video. All right, so I'm gonna have to cut the bearing. So we got it all masked off to the best I could, and we're just gonna kind of cut this at an angle. I'm gonna cut this piece first, and then all the bearings will fall out, and then the inner race, that's the one we're gonna need to be extremely careful with. I'm gonna use a grinder, obviously, and then I have a face shield. Make sure you have that. So now at this point, we're gonna cut this guy at an angle. So right there, we're gonna cut this at an angle just like that. And then we're gonna get a cold chisel and then crack it. So we're gonna cut on both sides. So one right here and then one on the opposite side. Again, make sure you're cutting at an angle. You kind of wanna cut it like this because we can get the most out of the cut. Now make sure you don't go in too deep because we don't wanna cut into this. We still wanna hold pressure. If you nick it, no problems, not the end of the world. But you don't wanna cut deep into it. All right, so now that we got both sides chipped up, we're gonna go ahead and hit this. So right there, it cracked. So now we're pretty much ready to take it out. Come up pretty easy. Right here, we didn't nick anything, so I didn't fully cut through one side. I know the other one I got a little bit closer, but as you can see right there, you should cut it at an angle. I did notice there's like a little indentation notch right here. That was a perfect spot to cut at. Well, there's 2 indentation notches. I think that's a good spot to cut right there. If you can see that. There's one right there, and then the other one's right there. So you can cut both of those sides. Didn't see that when I was working on it, but yeah, that one's off, and now we'll go ahead and start the other side. I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. I'm not gonna show that, but it's the same concept. Oh, I already got the other side off. The other side was a little bit more pain in the butt because obviously the wall. I just nicked that little small area. It wasn't that much, but other than that, yeah, I mean that was pretty much it. So like I said, if you nick it, not the end of the world. You'll be all right. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get our race kit. So this is very crucial when applying this, guys, together. So obviously the race will be able to come off and you should be fine. Whatever race that's with that bearing is specifically machined for that race. Do not mix them with the other race because there'll be two in this kit. So specifically mark it so you know which one it is. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So number 6. So right here, number 6 are gonna be our differential bearing ASM cups and cones. So that's gonna be for this guy, the carrier bearing assembly. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and sit it down like right there. One thing I did forget to mention, to clean up that area, so where the race is going to be right here. So you see right there, not the bottom piece, this one where the outer, the lip, the top hat, that I cleaned with sandpaper. I used 80 grit, and then I used wheel bearing grease to coat it so this can drive pretty easy. And then we're going to go ahead and drive this guy right in. Now you need to make sure this is flat as possible. Need to make sure we get the right cone. So this will be a perfect cone to sit right above it. So we'll use this cone right here. We'll use this one right here. This will be like the third cone. So make sure it sits. We're not gonna hit the outer lip. You need to hit the inner race. So the end part, not the outer part, the inner part. So if you hit the outer part, you're pretty much screwed at that point. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and set that up. Hopefully I can hammer it in. If not, then I gotta go get it pressed in. But I'm hoping I can just hammer it in. I'll be using the 4-pound hammer. And yeah, we'll pretty much go from there. I think that should be it. All right, so I'm gonna be using this driver. I'm not gonna bolt it down. I'm just gonna seat it right there. Your first crucial hit is gonna be the most important one. For the bottom, make sure you have like some cardboard or something, or you can put a rag right under. So we'll go ahead and just set that right there. Hold firmly, and then tap away. So far, we already went all the way down. Got to give it one more tap. So now we bottomed out. We're not done yet. We are not done. We need to go past that and actually bottom out right there. See that little gap? We actually need to hit that in. So I'm gotta find something that could go over it. We're gonna go ahead and use the old race. So yeah, we'll go ahead and use the old race. We'll just use the inside, and then we'll tap on away. I think we are in. We're all said and done on that. I'm just gonna give it a couple more whacks. So yeah, we are fully seated in. And then we'll go ahead and repeat the same thing for the other one. All right, so the pinion, just gonna go ahead and show you how to clean this guy real quick. So only 2 spots we're gonna clean is right here and right there. So I'll just clean that up. We just, like I said, we just want to clean it up. We're not over here trying to shave off any metal. Okay, so we got that clean off. We'll go ahead and clean it up with some brake cleaner. Then we'll set that right there. Then you can go to your auto parts store. I got this from AutoZone. 18 extension pipe. I use this from like another wheel bearing job. I had this. Part numbers 17621 or 17621. Make sure it's a 1 inch and 3/4. So the one that we're going to be using is the one that's kind of in, that's a little bit fatter, and then that's going to be sitting over the seal itself. Now, before we put on anything, make sure you clean up your washer. You need this right here. We'll set that right there. We'll put some wheel bearing grease on our area to make this go pretty easy. We'll even put it on the ring itself. We're gonna go ahead and put this guy right down. Make sure that's seated in. And then this guy will sit right over here. And again, same thing for the other bearings. We're not gonna hit the outer lip. We're gonna hit the inner race. So we wanna make sure that sits right over it. Just like that. And then we're gonna start tapping away. We're bottomed out. Make sure you check out everything. We're all set. Clean up your area. Again, make sure you are bottomed out. At this point, don't forget to put your crush washer. So we'll go ahead and, this is the crush washer right here. So it's the one with the little notch on the lip. So we'll go ahead and put that on right there. And I think we're ready. We'll switch out the races on the differential. So we'll go ahead and do those. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pop out the old races. The first race, we are going to pop out. So we're gonna go ahead and, you see where there's a little indentation right there, and then there's one right there. We're gonna go ahead and hit those ends from right there. And then on the opposite side, for this side, it's gonna have the same thing. So if we look out from the other, where the drive shaft comes in, we're gonna look in from there, and then that's where we're gonna hit it. So I'll go ahead and show you how I'm gonna hit that one. And then from the other one, I'm not gonna really do anything. I might not show you that one. Also, another thing too, while you're here, right here, this area, I noticed that had a bunch of gunk in it. Same thing from there. So clean up all that, get all that middle junk out of the way. There's a bunch of junk that was right in there. So we got to clean up all that. See all that little paste right there? So all this little paste, that needs to come out. And I think there might even be some right there. Yeah, see, you can see that little paste. So just clean that up so we don't hurt the new differential. You can see the little paste right there. We'll get this guy cleaned up. I'm not gonna clean it up right now. I'm just gonna pop out these races. And I think I might call it for the day, I don't know. All right, so yesterday I was trying to figure out how to get out the race So I was able to get it out. You can punch it out. You don't need no special tools for extraction. And one way I did it was one of the tools for the long reach to get out this part. I had no tools to get it out, and I tried using a pry bar and hitting it out just like that, but that didn't work. So what I did was from the jack setup. I mean, I have a few of these, so I didn't really matter about sacrificing one. This is where you take off this is one of the tools for to lower the wheel up and down, and this is the one that's to take off the lug nuts. So what I did was I cut off the head so I could get the most length out of this. And basically we're gonna go ahead and hit those little notch right there, the corners. We're gonna hit the race. Remember, we're hitting the race, not any of the metal. So let me show you. So right there, we're trying to hit just the shiny part. So basically, if I can get this going, so we want to hit right there. There's like a little lip, so we don't want to hit this bottom one. Yeah, we don't want to hit this lip. We want to hit the one right there, the silver chrome piece. So we want to hit the one where the bearing is going to be. So remember, don't hit the housing itself, hit the bearing. So I'm going to go ahead and show the other piece. It's going to be kind of hard to record at the same time while I'm trying to hit it from this side and then the camera's in the way. So I'm going to show it from the other side of when I'm banging it out. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and hit this piece from the back side. So I'm just going to do that on both sides. Alright, so next, what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to go ahead and clean up our area. I already cleaned up most of the diff. I went inside, just spent my time with the rag. And a rag and a brake cleaner. Just clean up everything as much as possible, so it'll be all fresh so we don't get no debris. So we'll clean up this area. I didn't sand this. I felt like it wasn't needed. On this part, you can just to clean it up. Then we're gonna go ahead and put some wheel bearing grease. So we'll just put some right here. Now again, this will make the race go in pretty easy. And then we'll get the race. Now from the box, I'm not gonna be showing the box. You're going to be getting that from the top right corner, so make sure you inspect it. Everything looks good. So this one is going to go just like that. So the cone, the big piece right here, that's going to be the bottom. And then the tool, the driver that I'm going to be using, I don't know if you can see that right there, the 2.555. Right there, that's the one I'm going to be using to drive it. We'll use the flat side. Now, this is barely going to sit over it. So, barely. So, make sure all this is all cleaned up. We'll clean it up after we get it in. But, we'll go ahead and put that right there. Make sure it's fully seated in. It looks flush. We don't want this going in cockeyed because our life will become a nightmare. So double check. Make sure everything looks good so far. Don't want to be nicking anything. And if you're scared, I feel like I'm getting nervous.
I'm gonna use my old damn race. We'll use this to drive this sucker in. Kind of getting nervous. Keep looking. So far, so good. Pretty much bottomed out. Alright, so we're bottomed out. We'll go ahead and inspect our area. Make sure there's no lip. Nope, there's no lip. So far, so good. So 2 thumbs up. So passing. Go ahead and inspect the area. Make sure nothing is damaged. Get that to focus. So that's how it should be. It should be flat. You can look on the other side. Make sure there's no gap or anything. You can see if it's flush or not. We're gonna go ahead and repeat the same process for the other side, and we're gonna be ready to install the pinion shaft. All right. So for this side, this is gonna be like a little bit more tricky. Just because of the bars in the way. So you need to angle this side pretty well. If not, just gonna have a hard time, and you just, like I said, you just make your life more miserable. So we'll go ahead and set that right in. Make sure it's pretty centered. Tool I'm gonna be using, well, the race driver I'm going to be using is going to be a 3.180. So we need to use that size for this. This one actually sits perfect on over the whole thing, so I'm not going to be using the other bearings. So we're going to go ahead and Alright, so we're going to go ahead and drive in the other one. I just want to make sure it's fully seated in, but I'm going to use the other race to help me drive it in. So the one that we're going to be using, the size is going to be 2.995. And then basically on the cone side, we're going to put this right here so it could sit inside, so we have as much control as possible. Alright, so perfect. That helped out a lot. That is fully seated in because we know our... Next, we're going to go ahead and replace... well, we're going to have to go ahead and install the crush sleeve. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this with gear oil right now. And then on the other race, on the inside, I'm going to lubricate it with wheel bearing grease so it slides right in.
This part is going to be actually the most crucial. I know earlier in the video I said you need to have these marked, but since we're going to be starting fresh, we shouldn't worry about that. I talked to a buddy of mine at GM. Thanks, Danny, for the info. So we don't need to worry about those marks because obviously we're going to be starting everything new race, new crush washer. We're not going to be using the same old crush washer, so perfectly fine. So we're going to go ahead and lubricate all of this with gear oil. Same thing with the other bearing. I'm going to lubricate it. Just make sure you're generous in it. And then yeah, once we get all that, I'm going to go ahead and start recording once I get this one slid in. And I'm going to put in the space washer right here. So I'm just going to sit it right in. I don't think there's a one-way direction on the space washer, but yeah, we'll go ahead and set that right in. If there is one way, I'll let you know if there is any, but yeah. Alright, so here's the crush washer. I went ahead and lubricated it with some gear oil too as well. We'll have that guy. And then we'll work putting it, so you need to put one hand in the housing and then another hand to guide it. We'll push that guy all the way back. I already lubricated the race, not on this one, but I will go ahead and lubricate it. I just want to give you an idea of how I did that. And then we're going to go ahead and put our other race, or our other bearing right in. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put in our seal. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but they want us to do all of this at once. So we'll go ahead and tap that guy right in. So we'll go ahead and tap this guy right in. Alright, so that's all in. The reason why we put this in, because obviously in the instruction says to do that. And so we don't forget anything. And then after that, we put in the yoke. So like I said, it doesn't really matter how we put in the yoke. But we're going to kind of like put it in this way, in that matter. I guess it's just a little bit easier. So at the same time, I'm going to kind of hold this in place. Hopefully I can get enough slack. Alright, so while putting this guy in, make sure you have the washer and the nut at the same time, so it'll be a lot more easier. And then at the same time, pushing the pinion gear, so this one locks right about. Alright, so since I was having a little hard time pushing it, trying to get everything all clamped down, basically I'm having someone on the other side hold the pinion gear like forcefully. And then I'm just going to kind of tap this in place just so I can get enough so where I can thread it in. Make sure it's centered. There's no wobble play. Just a little bit more. And then you're just going to kind of do a quick mock-up. See how everything with the spacer will be. So just like that. So I have enough room with the spacer. So that'll be perfect. So just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put back on the seal. I took off the seal, so I think you should do this setup first. Just kind of hit it in place. And then make sure that this little ring right here doesn't pop right out. I noticed that, so thank God that didn't pop out on me. let go of it a little bit. Alright. Slightly let go. Alright. Alright, you can let go for right now. So basically I was bolting down this guy. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So what you need to go ahead and do is that hammer in the race, and then go ahead and put on your seal. And then while I used a drill gun to torque this down, or you can do it by hand, however you want. So you keep going until your little gap is gone. I have a little play. As you're tightening this, you need to make sure you push it so that the bearing itself doesn't hit against the seal and pop out that little spring. It happened to me the first time, so good thing I popped everything back out, and I noticed that was out in the way. So we went ahead and did that, and we just need to torque it down just a little bit more, and then we need a torque wrench. We got to spin all of this with I have a digital torque wrench, and we need to do it at 15 inch-pounds, so it needs to spin with the resistance, and that's how we need to do it. So just gonna hit it just a tad bit more. Alright, so we're getting the torque wrench. So I got it about 18 inch-pounds. I'm sorry, inch-pounds. So we'll go ahead and put on our nut. And then we'll go ahead and spin it. So right now I don't have no tension. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it just a tad bit more.
Papi, what are you doing?
Working, Mama.
Working?
Yeah. Alright, so now I can start feeling some resistance. So hopefully we didn't get too tight.
So I got my phone press right now.
So we'll go ahead and... No, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. I can feel a little bit of resistance. Sorry, I'm just going to be going back and forth on this. Alright, we're still not getting too much resistance. Okay, so we're way too tight. I'm gonna back off just a tad bit. Alright, so right there, I'm going to go ahead and use the torque wrench again. So right now, I'm about 29
about 29 inch-pounds.
When you look at it, you did.
So we're gonna back this off some more. Alright, so feel it getting better. So right now I'm at 10. I'm about 10 inch-pounds, so we can just give it a little hit. So we're about 14 inch-pounds. Getting there. So this is like a little play. I'll show you what I mean by inch-pounds and stuff. So just a tad bit too much. So I just want to give it a quick little tap, and I think we should be right about there. And I'll show you.
Mess up the thread.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and spin this. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So basically right here, I got to spin this guy right here, and then you got to have lubricant in it. So not in the whole thing, you got to make sure those are pretty lubricated. If not, then obviously you're going to get more resistance. So let me pull this guy back a little bit more. So right here, turn on the light. You can see that. So right now what I'm doing is I'm spinning this, and I'm going to measure the inch-pounds. So basically you don't want to kind of catch the first motion, you want to kind of get it in the sweet spot. So I'll show you right now. So you want to start, so either the first or the last. So I'm spinning this right now. I don't know if you can see that. So right now I'm about at 15. So once I stop, it kind of goes up or whatever. So yeah, about around there. 15, 17. Let's see. The more faster you spin it, so like let's, hold on. Yeah, so the more faster you spin it, the better results you're gonna actually get. So it's around like 15.7, which is pretty good. That's within spec. I have no play, zero play, like zero play. So that's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Again, we're gonna go ahead and check it one more time. So about 15.6. I think I'm just gonna hit it just a tad bit. So right now it's at 16.4. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, right there, I have it set to 18 inch-pounds. So we'll go ahead and measure it again. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. It's at 16. So I think I was checking on the GM specs with my buddy Danny. He showed me, I think they gave it like 15 to 30 inch pounds. So, but I mean, Mitchell on Demand quotes for 15 inch pounds. So I mean, obviously you can get it within that. I talked to a machine shop. They said 20 inch pounds. That's what's the normal GM spec. But I'm gonna go at 16. I would say 16 to 18 inch-pounds is the sweet spot. I would do that. So I have a little slight resistance right here. I mean, at this point, we're pretty much ready. We're done with this area. We'll go ahead and lubricate inside. I'll spit some gear oil, and then we'll go ahead and start with the carrier bearing at this point. All right. So this is the torque wrench that I'm using. This is a snap-on. Obviously, if you don't have this tool, no biggie. I believe you can get these online. You just need like a torque wrench. But let's turn on this one. And then, so you need to do it at inch-pounds. Obviously, there's other torque wrenches that will be like that, but I feel like a digital one will be at its best. Or you can get the one with the needle, it'll be like the old school version. That will be perfect too. So as you're rotating it, that will give you like a better indication. But again, with this one, worked out pretty well. So right here, as you can see, when I tighten this, if I can grab something.
Together.
So right here, basically, as you're tightening it, just keep it straight. All right. So as you're tightening it, basically you just hold. I mean, I'm just showing you as an example, so I don't know how the video was. So as I grab this firmly, and then I start torquing it down, and then as I rotate it, then we'll basically be like that. Again, I think O'Reilly's has one. It's like a smaller version. The smaller version is perfectly fine. You can actually use that. But other than that, I mean, yeah,
So I mean, if I'll post up a link to see if you can grab one, find one online. But yeah.
There's no wheel.
All right, so we're ready for assembly. Basically, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna go ahead and lubricate these with the gear oil first, and then I'm gonna put the races. Remember, I have these races, the one on the right side and then the one on the left side, again, because they're machined for that. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put in our carrier. But like I said, we're gonna go ahead and lubricate some spots. So first thing I would recommend, make sure you clean up all this area with brake cleaner. I'll lubricate right here, and then these little outer spots right here. It's like a little ring. This spot right here. Then we have some shims. So this one's came with some shims right here. So obviously this side has two. Normally they're gonna have one, or sometimes I think they might have like one on one side, but this side has about two. So here's one shim. You can see that this side is flat and then this part has a cone. So that's gonna go, the cone side is gonna be facing towards the wheels, and then the flat side is gonna be towards the carrier. And then same thing for this one. This one right here, we're gonna go ahead and put, because this came with it, so this had two. So if you do have a spacer like this, this is gonna be between the wheel and the spacer itself. So it's gonna fit just like this. I try to see a whole bunch of videos because these guys fell out, but my buddy Danny, he told me how it should go. So yeah, make sure those are cleaned up and then lubricate them too as well. So I'll go ahead and do all that and then mock them right up. So I think the easiest way would be to put everything all assembled. I'm gonna try to record this. Make sure your inner race is pretty cleaned up. And the same thing for the outside. And then and then you want to go ahead and add some oil to that for the inside and the outside. So you want to add oil from outside and inside and spin it. It should be nice and smooth. And then we're going to do that for the other side too as well. And then for this cone size, this is going to be for the right side. Remember that the indentated part, the one with the cone, that's the flat or the rounded spot, that's going to be going towards the right side. So the flat spot's going to be going towards the carrier, and then the shaved off part's going to be going away from that. So we're going to try to install everything all at once. Hopefully, easier said than done, right?
No. Alright, so we got it in. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pain in the butt to put in. I guess there's supposed to be like a tool that would basically hug the race, and you would kind of hammer it in. So putting these two in, I was trying to see if I can just snug it in and do everything at once, but I mean, it's an extremely tight fit. Like really tight. It's pretty precise. So as soon as I got everything all in, basically we just put these guys right up there, and I made sure I hammered the shims all the way down till they bottomed out. So I know a lot of people are probably either like really well-known technicians are gonna, you know, talk smack on this, but you know what, it is what it is. This is the tools that I got that I'm capable of. So I mean, I really don't do differentials that much, but at least it's a great learning experience. That one I think should be pretty good. So that one looks pretty flush right there. But if I have any issues, we'll find out right now. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and torque these down to 55 foot-pounds. That's what the torque spec is asking. But I'm gonna go ahead and lube these up. And just spin them around. Alright, so now, at this point, so 55 foot-pounds. And then as you're, I would say, start off at maybe 30 foot-pounds the first row, because you want to torque these down evenly. So we'll go first one, so that's the first one, that's number 2, so I did it at 30 foot-pounds, obviously because that's half of, almost close to 55. So the next one we're going to do at 55. Now, what we're gonna go ahead and do, we're gonna go ahead and check to see how our run out is. You're gonna need some paint for that, but in the meantime, we're just gonna clean up our area, and we're gonna put some paint. I'll show you the paint that we got. So hopefully everything's all well off. You're gonna need a little brush. You can get these at Harbor Freight. They come in a pack for a couple $. And then I'm using a Persuasion, you know, or Persian blue. So it's non-drying. So I already tapped into the head. So normally there's yellow. That'll be more easier to see. You want to do this on both sides. yellow will be better than this. I'll see. All right, so I was using the blue this compound right here. So you can see right there, Persian blue. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to see in the video. So I wanted to go pick up some red paint. I believe you can get that from the dealership. I borrowed some from another shop. So we're gonna go ahead and spin it from the carrier. That looks good right there. Happy with that. Alright, so this is how it should look like. Let me get that to focus. So you should see it like that. It shouldn't be all the way at the top. So you should just have enough gap. And the same thing for the bottom. It shouldn't be at the bottom either. It should be at the center. Shouldn't be too close. It should kind of fade right out. That's how you want it. So that's for the drive. And I believe there's a coast. So the coast is the inner side. Let me see if I can see that. So yeah, that's how the coast should be. So there might be like a couple spots where it might look a little bit different, but get that right there. But yeah, for the most part, that's how it should be. So all said and done. So we're ready for assembly. And yeah, we're good to go on that. After this part, the rest is all walk in a park. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. You can clean that all up with a brake cleaner and a rag. So yeah, so after I'm done cleaning that, then we're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and put in the wheel bearings on the side, and then we'll put in the little shaft, the seals. Yeah, I mean, this, like I said, the rest is a walk in the park. So we're gonna go ahead and install our shaft bearings, and then before we put that, you can either put wheel bearing grease or some differential fluid. We'll just put the differential fluid. And then we're just gonna go ahead and set this guy just like this. Make sure it goes in flat as possible. And then the race tool that we're going to be using, it's the one that's 2.555. So we're going to go ahead and use that. Make sure you're hitting the outer side right here and not the bearing itself, the rollers. If you hit those, you're going to need a new one. So we'll go ahead and make sure you put your nut on this. For the seal, you don't have to put your nut on it just because it's more easier, but just in case. Now, let's say this kind of does go in cockeyed. I did this intentionally on purpose. So you see how right here it's more thicker, and then right there it's a little bit more narrow. So right here I have it more inwards. Don't worry, you can bring down this every hit or every 2 hit, try to check it. So since I have this more out, I'm going to focus my hit on this area. And then since we're pretty much almost there, make sure you're good. So you're going to keep on hitting until you notice that your sound changes. So you'll hear a more like hard sound instead of a hollow sound. So once we get that,
and then we're ready to install the seal. And then for the seal, I'm going to be using the 3.180. I got the seals from the dealership themselves. So this only can go in one way. The one with the top hat lip right here, that's going to be on the outer side, and then wherever you see this little metal ring, that's going to be on the inside. So that'll go exactly right there. We'll put this right here. And then until you hear a hollow sound, then you're good to go. This comes with grease, so you don't need our grease these. If they don't come with grease, either you lubricate it with wheel bearing grease or electric grease, or you can lubricate it with gear oil. So now at this point, we don't want to run this dry. So we're going to go ahead and put some diff fluid. Just get it all right in there. And so this prevents any damages during initial movement. So we don't want it to be any dry than what it is. So this will keep it, this will keep the premature wear from happening. So I got a good amount of fluid in there to where it's almost coming out to the seal. All the bearings are nice and soaked, so keep rotating it until you see gear oil all over the place. That's it for this side. We're going to be pretty much ready to put back the axle shaft. We're going to go on the inside, clean up our area for the diff cover and all that. But now we're going to go ahead and put in the axle shafts. I'm going to clean up the axle shafts with a rag and some brake cleaner, and then we'll go ahead and slide that right in. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put in our axle shafts. So we're going to go ahead and slide this in. I'm putting these guys in dry. Just right here where the shiny spot is, that's the only spot that I'm actually going to put some diff fluid. You don't need to put a whole lot, just enough to coat it. And so let's say your axle goes in about that much and it doesn't want to go in anymore. So remember, you're not going to force this guy right in. You can get a flathead screwdriver. So right here, there's a little peephole where you can grab the shaft. You can use a flathead. And I'm just going to lift it up so I can align it. I'm going to show on the driver's side. It's the same thing for the passenger side. We're going to go ahead and put it in. You can see how it stops right there. So we're going to grab this shaft and push down, like so. We're going to tilt up the front, so that's what we want to do. So it should just slide right in. So I got to go adjust one of the blocking plates on one side. It's good on the driver's side it's good, but on the passenger side I gotta fix it up a little bit, but it should just slide right in all the way. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and spin it by the yoke. Get this guy right up here.
Just kind of want to show you. Alright, so right there on the left side, we're going to go ahead and put on our cotter pin. We need to push in the drive shaft, or I meant the axle shaft. So when you push in the axle shaft, you should be able to fit your cotter pin. I need to push it in just a tad bit more. Now, if you need to tap it with a hammer in the center bore, then that's perfectly fine. Then go ahead and tap it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put that right in there. Oh, we gotta bang it in just a tad bit more. But I think this probably is stopping it. So we're gonna go ahead and, you're actually supposed to do this in a certain position, but alright, so I hammered it just a tad bit in. See if we can get this guy to fit. Alright, so we got that bad boy in. Now we're gonna go ahead and I had to tap it in just a tad bit, but just from where I'm at, it's kind of a little bit hard to get a good little pound. If you had someone else, they can pound it in until you're able to get that guy in. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do, we're gonna go ahead and pull out the axle until this cotter pin is fully seated in. So just like that. No, that's fully seated. See how it pops out and now it's in? That's how we want it. So we don't want it sticking out, we want it in. So we're gonna go ahead and spin it by the yoke. And now we're looking for the side that has the hole in it. So right there, we're gonna about get at an angle. See if you can see that. So we want it at an angle just like that. Here's the hole right there on that side. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this guy in. Make sure you remember where the hole's at. So we're gonna have the hole right there. Slide that guy in. Now if this doesn't go in, you're gonna spin it by the shaft, the axle shaft itself, not by the yoke. Now it should slide right in. I was pushing against the shaft itself. And then put your hand on the bottom. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this bolt, and then you want to put some red Loctite on it. So before we do that, we're gonna clean that out. I just want to make sure that this lines up. So yeah, that lines up. So everything's good on that part. So we're gonna go ahead and put some red Loctite, or you know what? I'd recommend blue Loctite. So put some blue Loctite, because red Loctite, well, it's a pretty small bolt head. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and put blue Loctite, tighten that down. I'm gonna find out the specs right now, and I'll get right back to this video. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put our Loctite. Just literally put it like a dab, and then that'll be it. So right there, just like that. Make sure you shake the Loctite. I'm using Loctite by 243, the medium. You can actually use the green one. That one will be pretty good too as well. But I've had the blue one for a while. And now they say I think this is supposed to be torqued down to 16 foot-pounds. But I don't know. I don't trust the whole 16 foot-pound type of thing. I mean, I'll just say torque it till you feel that it feels good. So we got that. Now we're ready to put on the gasket. I didn't take off the drain plug or the fill plug. Torque spec for the fill plug is about 24 foot-pounds for some of you that actually really care about it, but not me. Gasket, make sure you get it. It's all aligned. If you're having a hard time lining up with the gasket, you can put the gasket on here first. Put like a couple spots of RTV. Now, if you notice any nicks or whatever that's damaged or anything, you can put some silicone in that area to help fill those spots, those indentations. And to take off the fill plug, you're going to need a 3/8 ratchet. Make sure you put it in there. And then we're going to go ahead and fill up the thing with differential fluid. I'm using 80/90. Recommended weight for this one 75/90. So we'll go ahead and fill her on right up. So once the fill plug starts pouring right out, that means you're done filling it up. But we're gonna go ahead and spin the yoke and get all the fluid all over the place. I pretty much have this filled up. You want to keep filling up till it pours right out. I used about 3 quarts. And basically one way you can tell, once you get at the 3, I have it at a little incline. So after spinning all the gear, I know the fluid went in more. So after you're going to get your pinky and then just dab your finger. And if you see it full of fluid, then you know you're good to go. That means you're ready right there. Now, the more far your finger is going to be the dipstick.
So basically the fluid's supposed to be right here at the fill area. So if it's pretty close, no problem. Now if it starts getting down below and you can't see any fluid, then obviously you got to fill it right up and take care of that. Clean up your area. We're going to go ahead and put on the yoke, put everything all back together. I'm not going to show that. When you put back on the drive shaft and that, there's really no certain way you can put it, so you can't really mess it up. Don't worry about that. We're going to go ahead and put on the crossbar. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and put everything back up, and then I'm going to go take it for a test drive, and I'll get right back to the video on that. Just kind of pulling out just a little bit from my place, and everything seems pretty quiet. So I mean, so far so good, so I'm pretty stoked on it. Took a little bit longer. Just doing a lot of research, making sure everything is done right. That's a huge key in this process. There's a few precision points that I didn't know. I mean, it's like everything else. I mean, you get into the motor, the transmission, everything's different. So obviously doing a complete differential bearing replacement, whole another world. But you know what? I think like the only most difficult thing was putting on that carrier bearing back in place. And yeah, that was a pain in the butt to put back on. I kind of struggled on that one. So like, it's pretty precise, so if you don't put it in right, I think you're just gonna have a hard time just kind of put it in. They do sell a tool so you can hammer in the spacers, but I don't have that tool obviously because I don't do differentials. But you know, I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, let me do it. You know, I just want to do it as a pretty good learning experience and make a video on it, so to help you guys out. Now if you have the differential off the vehicle, I think it'll be a lot more easier to install the spacer. So if that was off, then obviously that'll be more easier, but that's a lot more work. Job quotes for about 5 hours. It took me a lot longer than that. Like I said, I did a lot more research, but as of right now, we're driving the car and I'm at 55 miles an hour, and you can, sounds quiet. So after you're done doing the drive-by, go ahead and recheck your fluid, make sure it's all topped off again. Obviously everything is now circulating, so drive it, make sure it's leveled, and then see if you need to add more fluid. I'm pretty sure you just got to top off just a tad bit now that it's in the tube. Things I did forget to mention: don't forget your wheel speed sensors. Obviously put back on the rotors and the caliper, and then the sway bar link. But yeah, I'm happy with the results, so I'm gonna call my buddy so he can pick up the car. But again, if this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any questions, and then hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And thanks for watching.